What's up, Central Illinois? You know what you all need? Y'all need some CIBL podcast swag. And thanks to our newest sponsor, Jedco Sales, you can now find our swag at CIBLmerch.com. You can find t-shirts, sweatshirts, polos, hats, and more, all classically adorned with our famous CIBL podcast logo. If you want to represent and support your favorite podcast, check out CIBLmerch.com. That's CIBLmerch.com. If you like our store, you can also build your very own business swag store with the help of Jedco Sales in Effingham, Illinois. Jedco is owned by previous CIBL guests, Andrew and Laren Dial. They've set up a special discount offer for CIBL guests and listeners to set up your very own custom branded swag store. You can now offer branded apparel to your employees, customers, and fans, and Jedco will fulfill all the orders for you. Contact Jedco at sales@jedcosales.com. That's sales@JEDCO sales.com, and tell them that Garrett and Derek sent you. Let Jedco help you get noticed.
Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, and this time I have a special announcement from a past CIBL guest, Francie Heinrichsen, who is the founder of Founding Females. So the Founding Females team is hosting its second annual women-owned business empowerment event on October 1st at the Cannery in Eureka, Illinois. Founding Females Central Illinois is an annual one-day women's conference focused on productive dialogue about how to build a better business to propel women towards greater success in their companies. At the event this year, they'll have 3 inspiring speakers, roundtable events with productive discussion topics, professional headshots, mini business mentoring sessions with Score Peoria, office hour swaps, lunch, party bag swag, and giveaways throughout the event donated by local women-owned businesses. You can learn more about their conference at foundingfemalesco.com. That's foundingfemalesco.com. And without further ado, Central Illinois, let's welcome today's guest. Today's guest is the owner of AK Boutique, a member of the Illinois Army National Guard, a financial literacy advocate, and Miss Illinois United States. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Aaliyah Kissick. How are you doing, Aaliyah?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, we appreciate you jumping on. I'm just impressed that Derek got all the way through that. He didn't stumble. He killed it. So nice job, Derek.
Wow. Yeah. For all the people who are like listening on the podcast and didn't see me reading from that script, they're going to be pretty impressed with me so far. So, yeah.
Nice
I'm
work.
impressed in general, and I saw it.
It worked out. Well, Aaliyah, before we move on, we are going to take you through our speed round questions to get to know you a little bit better if you're ready.
I hope so. Yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right, Aaliyah. So typically in the past, we always say there's 6 questions in under 60 seconds. And if you pass the test, you win $1 million. So we'll just somehow the check will get lost and we'll lose your name, but you could win up to $1 million today. So I hope you're ready.
Wow.
All right. First question. First concert that you ever attended?
Oh, goodness. Vanessa Hudgens at the Illinois State Fair.
All right. Favorite movie?
The Barbie movie. It was so good.
I've not seen it. I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh my goodness. I've not eaten ice cream in like 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
If
I
you
would
could
have to
ice
say,
cream.
yeah, I have
if
frozen yogurt.
Okay.
I like taro frozen yogurt from Coco Maro, and
There we go.
champagne.
Good for
There we
you.
go.
Good resilience to go 7 years without ice cream. That's pretty good. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Favorite social media platform?
LinkedIn.
There we go.
Last but not least, why Central Illinois?
Central Illinois has the perfect weather. It has a really good proportion of people in the area. It's not too busy, but there's enough going on to make it interesting. And Central Illinois has really friendly people.
Gotcha.
I like
Great,
it. I
great
like it.
answers. Unfortunately, we just passed the minute time frame there, so you'll be missing out on the $1 million, but we appreciate you being here.
The ice
Yeah.
cream one really threw me off. That's okay.
Yeah, that's why I always put why Central Illinois at last too. We hope it kicks you over that time limit just a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. So Aaliyah, we've never had royalty on the show before. So what we'd like for you to do is if you could just take the mic and take as long as you'd wish, tell us about your story. Take us back as far back as you want, bring us up to speed with where you're at today, and you can share anything in between you'd like.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that. So my journey started at 5 years old, and it was doing the Miss Athens and Miss Bernard County pageants. So pageants have always been something I've enjoyed. I really like how empowering they are. They ask questions about your career. It's personal development as well. I had interviews, and it helped me develop a lot of confidence at a time where confidence wasn't necessarily my strong suit. I remember as I was going through pageants, every year they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I had more answers than Barbie's careers, going back to that Barbie movie. When I was 5, I wanted to be, I think fashion designer was first. Oh no, princess. I wanted to be a princess when I was 5.
Nice.
And like manifested that one. When I was 6 and 7, it was fashion designer. And then when I was 8, there was like a public relations specialist thrown in there, personal injury lawyer. And then when I was 10, I just said I wanted to help people. After that, that's what it became. So there's been a variety of careers. I get the years messed up a lot just because it's like, what 8-year-old says public relations specialist? And going through pageants really helped me develop some of my interests. I started modeling. I signed my first agency when I was 10. And so I had to get a work permit from the school, and everyone's like, you're 10 years old. Why are you working? So everyone talks about how you need to graduate from high school with 5 years of experience. The key to that is starting to work when you're 10 years old.
There you go.
I started modeling and acting when I was 10. And then I continued to do that up until I think 2017. 2017, I woke up one day and I told my mom, I'm going to start a business. My mom's like, okay. She's a registered nurse. She works at St. John's, and that's not necessarily something that she knew anything about. But she was super supportive, and she's like, that's fine. So that is when AK Boutique was born. It was just an idea that I had one morning, and I didn't know how I was going to fund it because I had $50 to my name. But I did have a lot of clothes. I'm a shopaholic. I'm a self-proclaimed shopaholic. I love shopping. So what I did is I just took some of the extra clothes that I accumulated throughout the years as a 17-year-old and listed them on platforms like Poshmark, Mercari, eBay, just those online reselling platforms. And I actually turned out to be pretty good at it. I don't know what I did right. I was a teenager, but I spent my whole summer listing things online and having a perpetual garage sale in my mom's garage. My marketing strategy was a cardboard sign, and I would wave people down on the street until they came into my little garage sale. So
Awesome.
That is how I got started. Throughout the online sales and the garage sale, I ended up saving enough money to start entering pop-ups at local fairs and festivals. I went to the Menard County Fair. I went to a few in Central Illinois. I think I traveled to Southern Illinois for one. And whenever I did those, I saved up more money to have my first brick and mortar store. I had a pop-up shop in downtown Springfield, fell in love with it, and then I decided to open up a shop in Athens. It was a little alley location because I was 17 and it was really hard to negotiate rent when I was legally not able to sign paperwork. But there was someone who gave me a chance, and I had my mom co-sign. So I set up there. That's when the business started really growing because people finally recognized, like, oh my gosh, no, she's serious about this. She's not just having a garage sale anymore. My marketing strategy upgraded to a whiteboard, so no more corporate signs. Still waving people down. I operated from 4 to 8 p.m. because I got out of school at 3:30. I would walk straight to the shop from school. Finished up my senior year. I was able to have more hours after I graduated. And then I decided to go to community college. It was another last minute decision. I was like, okay, let's go to Lincoln Land. My mom went to Lincoln Land. I love Lincoln Land. That was like the best 2 years of my life going there. I ran for student trustee and got student trustee. So I was able to represent the student body for a year. And at that point, as I was student trustee, I was preparing to open my second location in Springfield, Illinois. I opened January 1st, 2020. And then the pandemic hit Springfield March 20th, 2020. So that was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done, was trying to navigate the pandemic, run the business full time. I was onboarding staff at that point. I was student trustee, and I was finishing up my second year at community college. So that being said, I was 19 when all this happened, and I decided to take a little bit of a step back to evaluate what my long-term goals in life were. I also really wanted to ensure that I was making proper financial decisions for the future rather than now. And so I made the decision to put the business on a quick hiatus. It was not too long. And I joined the Illinois Army and National Guard as a way to just separate myself, get away, and start to get to know myself as an adult woman. Because I turned 18 while I was still running the business, and I didn't really have much time to explore who I was as a person. So I went through basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. My MOS is Chemical, Biological, Radiological, Nuclear Sciences, so CBRN. It's a 74 Delta.
Wow.
I'd like to thank my recruiter. Thank you, Sergeant Owens. I really appreciate the time that you invested in me. And then I am now drilling at JFHQ in Springfield, Illinois. So my original plan was to just restart the business as soon as I got home. But then one thing led to another, and I ended up taking like a 1.5 to 2 year break. I started working behind the scenes for a little bit on the business. I started school at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign at their financial planning program. And I've been navigating getting through college, running the business in secret, going to drill, going to training, and having a lot of fun. Very recently, I actually made the public announcement that I've been operating this whole time. And so I'm really glad not only to interact with my online market, which I've been engaging with for the past 2 years, but also that in-person community that I've built over these last 6 or 7 years now. And finally, in July, I made another last minute decision. I competed for Miss Illinois United States, and I was named the title holder. Miss Illinois United States specifically, I think, ties everything into what I like to do. I'm all about empowering women. I'm all about promoting community service. And Miss Illinois United States is a community-oriented pageant. Our platform is our community outreach initiative, and it's built into our judging. So yes, we're judged on fitness, we're judged on elegance, we're judged on our interview, but we're also judged on that platform. And for my platform, tying things back into financial services, helping people and small business, I chose to advocate for financial literacy.
Awesome. Well,
I'm
that's
sorry
great.
I'm so sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
It sounds like you don't like to be bored very often.
Actually, part of the reason I took that break was so I could learn just how to do nothing.
Yeah.
So being bored has its perks.
Good for you. That's something that my wife struggles with. She's all about, so she's an incredible mom, business person. She works a full-time job. And she's always like, we just don't have any free time. But then when we get free time, she doesn't handle relaxation very well. So she starts doing something else.
Definitely something I had to teach to myself. I'm really thankful that I took that break because I was working very part-time. Like if I wanted to list some items online, if I wanted to, I would do it.
Sure.
But then if I wanted to just sit around and watch a movie, I taught myself how to watch movies.
Yeah. There you go.
It was fun.
Well, good. Well, Aaliyah, I'd like to kind of start back where you started, and as you're building your business, as a young entrepreneur, you mentioned one of your struggles was being able to sign a lease agreement. As someone who is 17 years old, obviously someone who owns a building might not be able, or I don't even know if you can legally do. I don't know how that works, but
I co-signed, so it was legal.
Co-signed. Okay, perfect. So, as a young entrepreneur, what were some of the other hurdles that you came into touch with, and how were you able to just keep going and fighting through some of those hurdles?
Yeah, so a couple of the hurdles that are bundled together, right, is I was young, and so a lot of people didn't think I was running an actual business. I'm lucky Athens was super supportive, and so people in Athens, they took me seriously from the beginning, but it was just getting people outside of my small community to recognize me as an actual business owner. And some of that too was bundled together with not having access to starting capital because I was under 18. It's not like I could just go take out a loan somewhere. I didn't have a credit score, so it was a little bit challenging to get over that hurdle. what I did was to address the people not taking me seriously thing. I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're
Mhm.
going to see my whiteboard whether you like it or not.
Mhm.
And then to address the financial capital issue, I was just really innovative. Right. So I figured out ways to get my name out there without spending money. That's how I got involved with social media marketing. And I ended up becoming really good at it. Another way that I did that is I would just start entering parades. I had a little wagon that I put a mannequin on. My mom and I would walk in the parade, we'd wave at a little sign. So it was all about just finding ways to get in front of people without having the dollars in order to invest in marketing and advertising.
Cool. Cool.
What was the first thing that kind of interested you in becoming an entrepreneur? It sounds like something from a very young age that it hit you at. Did you have influencers? What kind of clicked to make you say, I want to do this and start it from a young age?
So it was summer and I was bored. I really think what might have influenced that like subconsciously is my mom and I watched a lot of Shark Tank.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love Barbara. She's our favorite.
Okay.
I watched a lot of Shark Tank, so I got to see people explaining their entrepreneurial journeys. I got to see some successes, some failures. But when I say that I woke up and decided I was starting a business, like it was the most random thing in the world. I do remember though, so I'm a Christian. When I was going through one of my pageant interviews when I was 16, someone said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I'm going to run a resale clothing store." It came out of nowhere. I'd never thought of it before. And so I was going through that interview. I'm like, that's weird. I've never thought of that. I have no interest in doing that. But then like a year later, it just hit me that that's exactly what I was doing. So I do think I was divinely guided in that as well.
Wow.
Cool.
That's awesome. So you mentioned, especially during the pandemic, I'm going to stay with the business for a little bit.
Absolutely.
You kind of transitioned to maybe an online sales more than brick and mortar. Obviously, you couldn't do much brick and mortar sales during the pandemic, but you transitioned to the online sales. So from a business perspective, what goes into transitioning to an online sales platform, and like what type of platform did you use to list all of your items?
Great. That's an excellent question. It was a really big learning curve for sure. I loved people. I love talking to people. And so while I had been maintaining those platform sales, they weren't my top priority. I anticipated that I would be shutting down. I think I guessed like 10 days before it actually happened. I remember I was at the mall and I was going around telling people, I'm like, I think we're going to close. And everyone's like, oh no, we're not going to close. But I was like, I just feel like we're going to close. And so I had my employees like listing like crazy. I think we listed 250 items in 3 days. So we were keeping really strong pace. So that's how I transitioned, was I just assumed the worst and then the worst happened. So that kind of goes into like what we were talking about earlier, risk management. Sometimes you don't know what's going to happen, and if you prepare for the worst case scenario, it is beneficial. So that's how I prepared. As far as platforms and listing integrations, I had apps that I used for photo editing. I had apps that I used for upscaling images. I had apps that I used for helping me find keywords and search engine optimization for the listings. I had cross-listing services apps so that I could list items on multiple platforms. Like I mentioned, Poshmark, eBay, all of those social selling apps. I also had a Shopify store. So I had an integration that I would use in order to control where those items were going, and then it would allow me to delete it all in one place so I wouldn't double sell. Occasionally you do, whenever you're in resale, you only have one item of each thing. Whenever you're in traditional retail, it's not as much of a concern, because if you sell a pair of earrings to Sally Sue, Betty Boo can buy it too, and there's more than one set of earrings. If I sell a size large Anthropologie sweater to Sally Sue and Betty Boo tries to buy that same sweater, I only have one. So cross-listing and making sure that those items are deleted are very important. And that was my biggest issue when it came to getting the online platforms done, because I didn't know how to do that. And I sold a lot of things online because everyone was home, right? It was a very fast transition, but then I didn't know how to navigate that issue. And it definitely took a lot of online research. I joined a mastermind specifically for resellers, and I learned how to build an online business that way.
What's up, Central Illinois business owners? We know that insurance and employee benefits are one of the most expensive, confusing, and frustrating hurdles that you face in your business today. Garrett and I work with Central Illinois businesses to create insurance and risk management programs and employee benefit solutions that reduce risk, enhance your business, and maximize your profitability. Head to CIBLinsurance.com to learn more about insurance solutions that are specifically designed for your Central Illinois businesses and to watch our educational videos about work comp, employee health insurance, commercial insurance, and other insurance products to help your business go to the next level. Go to CIBLinsurance.com. We'll see you there. That's awesome.
Thank
You
you.
have a lot of people who ask about like online. So you mentioned obviously Central Illinois, Midwest. I feel like technology is always a little late to the Central Illinois region.
It depends on the age.
That's true.
Go,
That is
for
very
sure.
true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people who through the podcast, they'll like, I just don't know how to transition to online. There's a lot of questions about it. And it sounds like, like you, Aaliyah, you just kind of did it. You have to learn, jump in,
you just have
do some research.
Yeah. And I made so many mistakes getting started because like I said, I didn't have that cross-listing service implemented at first. And so I had a lot of cancellations because I had a lot of double sales. So sometimes if you are a person, especially someone in a product-based business, service-based businesses, oh my goodness, like go on Wix if you're a service-based business.
Sure.
Wix has a really good beginner level website that you can actually fund services, you can do checkout. But for product-based businesses, you have a physical product, there's a few more things you have to worry about. You have to worry about shipping, you have to worry about all of that fun stuff. If you're a product-based business, try to find a platform that is omni-channel, meaning that you can operate brick and mortar and you can operate e-com at the same time. So you're not running two separate systems, and try to find something that bundles a lot of different services together. A really good example of this is if you are a product-based business that sells homemade products, Etsy helps you take care of your shipping. Etsy helps you take care of your marketing. It's built into this platform. If you are e-commerce and you're a traditional e-com store, Shopify offers a lot of those plugins directly into the website. And if you're looking to scale quickly, Amazon actually has a program that helps small sellers get onto the platform because Amazon recently has been trying to transition into being more of a web service support for small businesses as well. So for sure, just whenever you're trying to figure out, I want to go online, you can just jump into it like I did. But what I wish I would have known in advance is what are my goals online? What are the issues that I'm going to have getting online, and then do it for like a month and then figure out those things like I didn't know that I didn't know. Try to find the solutions for that. Since I started the financial planning program, I've been a lot less chaotic. I really like formulas and systems. And so I think that trying to get online systematically, having a plan, it may not be a perfect plan, but having a plan is going to be better than just, okay, I'll list one thing. Another thing, 90 days of consistency. If you're trying something new, you have to stick to it for 90 days. And that's just because, as you know, retail is chaotic, to say the least.
Yeah.
Some days you'll get $500 in sales. Some days you'll get $5 in sales. This is compounded when you're on the internet, right? So you can have really, really, really crazy highs, or you can have days and days and days in a row where you don't have any sales. So if you don't commit to 90 days, you can't see trends and patterns. It has to be for 90 days minimum. If you really want to have an accurate trend forecast that takes sales into consideration, you can commit to something for a year. But when it comes to integrating a new platform or integrating a new process on the non-online end, 90 days is the minimum. You have to stay consistent with that.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead, Garrett.
Nope. I was going to just kind of try to shift directions here a little bit and kind of, go into the Miss Illinois United States and kind of tell us about your journey with that. Cool. And then, just, tell us your story with that, what's involved with it, and kind of go from there.
Great. Yeah. So Miss Illinois United States, it is a pageant, but something that I alluded to before is that it's a pageant with a purpose. We are judged on fitness, we're judged on beauty and grace, because Miss United States tagline actually is she's beauty, she's grace, she's Miss United States. But then we're also judged on interview. The interview process is really fun because we have a long interview and we have a short interview. that we interview for. So they really get to know us as people. And we also have the platform. The platform is a large part of what we're doing. And because of my experience running a small business, learning more about financial wellness through dealing with the pandemic, and starting the financial planning program at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, I think that I'm in a great position to educate others about financial wellness, and I'm choosing to become a financial literacy advocate. It's something that means a lot to me, and I really think I can make a large impact with it.
Excellent.
Right.
So can you tell me a little bit about why financial literacy? What was your decision? What made you choose that as your platform?
Yeah, so financial literacy is something that affects almost every aspect of a person's life. We operate in a system where we need cash in order to get food, in order to get resources and shelter, and also in order to do the things that we want to do. So it involves needs and wants. Whenever you're dealing with something that involves needs and wants, having mastery over it is going to allow you to have more choices and financial freedom. A really big reason why I think it's important to focus on financial literacy specifically is that it's not mandatory to learn about in school. The moment that I realized this would be something really good is I was thinking about back when I was in high school. And I remember asking my mom, I'm like, Mom, why don't we learn how to file taxes?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you just don't do that in school. And I'm like, but Mom, like we learn how to vote, we learn about the government, we have to know the Constitution. And I was like, isn't it a civic duty in order to pay taxes to support the government? And my mom's like, these are really good questions and I don't have an answer. So I thought about the interaction that I had with her and I was like, this should be taught. So the financial literacy platform is two parts. I'm doing financial education, so I'm going to be providing free, accessible, high quality resources for others to learn more about their financial wellness and get some basic, not financial advice, not a financial advisor yet, but some basic financial information that will allow them to make more optimal decisions for their households and themselves. And then I'm also advocating for that mandatory financial literacy for students. I've already been in contact with a couple of state representatives trying to find out more about what's going on in terms of mandatory financial literacy. And there actually was a bill that did not get passed last year, all about financial literacy. So I'm going to be advocating for getting that back into circulation, trying to get that process started again.
That's awesome.
Well, no,
Thank you.
Yeah, I think financial literacy and just understanding how money works in general is just, it's kind of the school of hard knocks for anybody that's growing up. You get out of school and you're like, all right, I need to get a vehicle. How do I go about getting a loan for a vehicle? What do they need to know? What information does the bank want to see? What qualifies? Just basic stuff. And to a degree, you're gonna have to, learn as you go for some things, but just a basic understanding of what's important for me to start with. What a credit, you mentioned credit score earlier. You didn't have a credit score when you were young. A lot of people don't even know what a credit score is, when they're in high school and getting out of high school. So
and the
I
thing
think
too,
it's great.
We talk about compound interest. If you invest young, you will have more money to accumulate wealth over time. I really think that compound decision making is something else we need to talk about, because the decisions that we make whenever we're 17, 18, 19 years old, they impact us for the rest of our lives.
Absolutely.
A lot of students take out student loan debt without knowing what their options are. And they pay that debt off for 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 years. And it causes them financial hardship for years. Everyone talks about the student loan crisis. Should we repay it? Should we not repay it? Who has the burden of that? I think that financial education might actually solve some of the problems about that without pointing blame, right? Like if we give teenagers and young adults more accurate information that's mandatory and accessible, perhaps we'll have less students who get themselves $250,000 in debt and they're unable to pay it off. I also think that in terms of financial education, earning income is part of financial education. Educating students on career paths and the possibilities behind that, the trade-offs of going to college and the potential benefits of going into a trade before going to college or going to a trade and staying in a trade. That stuff's important. I know I'm from Athens, and so we have CACC. The trades are promoted in more rural areas for sure, and that's something that I really appreciate. But perhaps an urban student who doesn't have that information may not even realize it's an option for them. it's really important for students to understand the cost of the degree, how much income they'll be able to make, and the value of the degree to them outside of finance, right? For someone who wants to go to college for the network, the positive experience, and to invest in themselves, perhaps they can shoulder a little more debt than someone who really just wants to go in and get the degree for money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. I know Derek and I've talked a lot that we wish that some classes that were, we see today or, stuff that we talk about, we would have been introduced to. Not that I hate to say it, 16-years old, I would have paid attention to all of it, but there definitely needs to be a better understanding of how money works.
Absolutely.
The college.
I know that even though I didn't really pay attention to every single one of the classes that I took, I still have the basics. I mentioned earlier not knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
Perhaps mandatory financial education would take away that you don't know, and you just don't know at that point.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I can remember in high school, it was, you're going to college or you're not going to college. And there wasn't a whole lot of other direction one way or the other. It was just kind of a decision that you were going to make. And there wasn't a ton of information out there at that time. So.
Absolutely. And there are counselors that are supposed to guide students, but there's usually one counselor for 400, 600, 800 students.
For sure.
You can't give a comprehensive education on financial literacy, one person doing all that. It's just not viable. We need a different system.
No, for sure.
Aaliyah, I just real quick before I forget, I want to introduce you. Maybe you've already heard of this program, but it's a program that started actually in Effingham, Illinois, right here in Central Illinois, called the CEO program.
Yes, I love the CEO program.
Yes. So they are doing a great job, and it's geared more for students who want to get into business, not necessarily even maybe own their own business, but want to be a business leader as they get into the workforce.
Absolutely.
But I've seen that, that's an exaggerated example of, financial education, but they learn how to go apply for their own loan for their business at a bank. They learn how to do their books. They learn, income and expenses. And I just see you can see the pieces of the puzzle fitting in for them as they're getting out in the real world. They just have such a better understanding compared to students who have not gone through it. They just have an accelerated, path to success, it seems like.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if we're talking about mandatory, that's the difference. CEO program is excellent. What they're doing is great. I'm not trying to detract from that. But the difference is these students have to take that burden outside of school hours.
Yeah.
So we have students who are going to school 8 hours a day. They have sports, they have obligations at home. Maybe they are trying to get a job so they can save for their future. They have car payments. It's unfortunate that students should have to take that initiative outside of school to do that. It should be something that's built into the school time, because there's so many things we learn about. I think that financial education is one of the things that should be in school hours. That way, some less fortunate students who are obligated to their families a little more than the average student, that way they get that information the same way. That's the only downside of extracurricular activities. They are extra.
Yeah. Nope. That's
I
great.
agree with you for sure.
Yes. Aaliyah, a quick question on Miss Illinois United States. So when will you be competing to potentially become Miss United States?
Oh my gosh, just hearing that makes me so excited. So the pageant will be the week of the 17th through the 21st. And I will know by the 21st if I'm Miss United States or not.
Wow. Gotcha. Is there a way that listeners of this podcast can tune in and maybe watch you?
Yeah. Follow along.
Yeah. So there is streaming, but I highly recommend just liking the Facebook page. That's completely free. And I'm going to be posting so many updates. So if you look up Miss Illinois United States, I'm going to be posting more information about financial literacy. I'm going to be sharing my updates. And then I have some really great sponsors that I really want to share with everyone.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Awesome.
Go right ahead.
You want to share them now, Aaliyah?
Oh no, like on the page.
On the page. Okay. Feel free if you want to.
I have a sponsorship coordinator and he works like crazy. I have so many people that if I were to share like every single person that I partner with in the last 2 weeks, it would probably take up the rest of the episode. I love them. We have such
great. And are you looking for more sponsors?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So there are different types of sponsorships. I'm looking for in-kind sponsorship, people with goods or services that can provide some financial, what's the word I'm looking for? some financial relief so that I
Mhm.
can dedicate more time and resources to this financial literacy platform. And I am looking for sponsors as well, perhaps in financial services or banking, who do strongly believe in the importance of financial literacy and want to financially support that program.
Very
Gotcha.
cool. Very cool.
And if we
So-
do have some listeners out there that wanted to offer their support, how would they get in contact with you to do that?
Absolutely. So my sponsorship coordinator, Zacharias, can be reached sponsors@aaliyahkissick.com.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Now, I have a few questions, Aaliyah, as we start the wrap up portion of the podcast. We're getting close to the 30-minute mark.
Great.
It's kind of going to jump back to where we started. But how did you get a modeling and acting gig at the age of 10?
Great. So that's an excellent question. I started pageants when I was 5.
Okay.
I started going to state pageants from the county fair pageants.
Okay.
Through the Sunburst pageant, actually, I was offered a free photo shoot. And then that
Cool.
photographer is the person who signed me to an agency.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
it's just
cool.
like one thing leading to another.
Yeah.
I do think that the modeling and acting agencies, for kids, it can be a little bit less accessible because you have to have parents doing the research.
Sure.
I'm signed with Images Agency now in St. Louis, and I absolutely love them. They're the best
Gotcha.
agency I've ever worked with.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Garrett and I are looking for some modeling opportunities. I think we've got
Okay.
great faces
So-
for podcasts. So.
I know that you're joking, but you two could totally work commercial. Absolutely.
There
Have a
we
look.
go.
If you really wanted to go volunteer and go audition, I actually think that there's a chance you'd get signed. So be careful.
All right.
Hey, man, so you're
Man.
telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
There is a chance.
Just boosted
Absolutely.
my confidence a little bit. I'm feeling pretty good
Absolutely.
here.
No,
I
I
don't know
mean,
about
that's the
Derek.
thing. People, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors around modeling and acting for people who are trying to profit off of young people who are wanting to get into it but don't know where to start. But commercial modeling and commercial acting is very diverse. In order to sell products, they need to have looks for everyone. So like, I know you're joking, but seriously, if you wanted to go out and be a commercial model or actor, you probably could.
I can't wait to go home and tell my wife that Best Illinois United States thinks I have a career in modeling.
You have the potential.
Yeah.
I can't
Oh.
guarantee a career, but you have the potential. I'm not an agent. I can't sign you. But I'm saying that I do see the people who are getting work in the St. Louis market, in the Chicago market, and there's work out there for you.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Gotcha.
Sweet.
So there's still hope, is what you're
There's still
saying.
hope. It's not.
Aaliyah, one thing that I don't want to glaze over, I definitely want to hit on it before we jump off the podcast here. Tell us about your National Guard experience. What motivated you to become a member of the National Guard?
My grandpa. So my grandpa,
awesome.
he was in the Marine Corps during the Korean War.
Wow. Okay.
And he actually did a tour in the USS Princeton.
Okay.
I really wanted to be like him. He
Awesome.
passed away like 6 months before I was born.
Okay.
I never got to meet him, but I've always had a really, really, really strong connection to him.
Awesome.
So I enlisted to the Illinois Army National Guard. Like I don't think I'm intense enough to be a Marine. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I thought Army was pretty cool. I really liked the experience of going through the recruitment process. I felt like it was a good fit for me. And I was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri throughout basic training and advanced individual training. So the difference between that basic training is what all soldiers get. We learn how to do things like warrior tasks and battle drills. So if you are in combat, you have some maneuvers and skills committed to memory. You go through weapons training, and then you also go through team building and what's called soldierization, being introduced to the customs and commons of being a soldier. Advanced individual training is where you learn your military operational specialty, your MOS. And I chose CBRN, so I got to do fun stuff like work with chemicals. Probably the scariest moment of my life was actually being in a room with a nerve agent. So you have like a bunch of like, it's called JS list. It's really heavy gear. And it protects you from dying of being in contact with a nerve agent. So that was really intense. And I definitely developed a lot more trust in myself and a lot more competence of my ability to handle myself in stressful situations by enlisting.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yes. And thanks for your service and
Yes,
your
thank
grandfather's service. That's great. We appreciate that. Awesome. Well, Aaliyah, that's all the questions I have. Garrett, do you have any more questions? I know we could probably go for another 2 hours.
Absolutely.
Or so, but
yeah.
We want to be respectful of your time, Aaliyah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything, Aaliyah, that you want to wrap up with to leave our listeners and followers with before we jump off of here?
Absolutely. If financial literacy is something that is important to you, I have a couple of things that you can do. Go ahead, follow the Miss Illinois United States Facebook page or the Instagram at ILUS. I will be posting resources for financial literacy, and I am actually creating financial literacy curriculums so that listeners or individuals in the community can get the information they need to make optimal financial decisions. Also, if you are very passionate about that mandatory financial education, go ahead and write to your House representative. Go ahead and write to your representative, say that mandatory financial literacy is something that you want to see your children or something that you want to see happen in your school. I think that civic duty is something that we don't always think about enough. But if enough people see that this is something we care about, because I know I went through high school, I see people going through high school. Almost everyone I've talked to wishes they learned how to do taxes in school. They wish they learned what debt was in school. And we do have consumer economics, but we don't have that financial management part built into the consumer economics. I know that's something that's really important to a lot of people. It's also bipartisan. So it's not something that's going to really be just, if it matters to you, go ahead and write them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Leah, you did a great job for all you
Thank
listeners
you.
out there. Make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please leave us a quick review. You can also find us on social media, mainly Facebook and LinkedIn. You can connect with Garrett and I there personally as well. Until next time, Aaliyah, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck. Bring home the
Thanks.
title to Central
There you
Illinois.
go.
I will keep
We're
you guys
rooting for
posted
you.
for sure.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.